Alright, so we're going to do some other preparations. I'm going to show you some steps you need to do. Might help you out in the long run. So you got your rubber strips that go back onto the frame itself. They seem to stay better if you can put a little bit of a tack adhesive on them. Sorry, it's going to get kind of loud. I just got my league starting up. I got some high strength 3M adhesive, 90. Just spray a coat. I'm using cardboard because I don't want to get it on the floor. I kind of like my knee hair on my legs. Sprayed it on that. I'm going to let that dry for a while. You can see why I'm doing this ahead of time. It just needs to tack up. I've also got the the new frame here that I have welded the supports into. So I got the top of it here. I'm going to go ahead and spray the top too. I need a layer of adhesive on it. You want to make sure not to get it in the holes. If you get your adhesive in the holes here, it's going to make a heck of a time for you to try and get your threaded screws and the bolts down in there. It's just going to drag. So I'm going to just kind of go in between spots here is what I'm going to do. And another thing, your strips don't go past this far, so watch, you don't have to spray adhesive all the way down the whole thing and, you know, everywhere. It kind of just goes about 1 inch past each of these holes. So I just do it in the main body, basically. Hopefully my spray is, yeah, perfect. I'm going to turn down, on this can, there's probably can't see it in the light, but just so you know, if you get this high strength 3M, there's a L, an M, and an H, with low, medium, high amounts of adhesive. If you rotate the head, it rotated it actually to the low, so it won't output as much. You can control your flow a little better. Just enough to tack it on there. The other strips have a lot more adhesive. They're really going to stick to it. All right, while that's still drying and tacking up, because it's got to sit for about 15 minutes, is what they say, before you put it together. We've got this roller right here that, since we're going to put it back in, we need to re-lube this roller up. I've got my split ring pliers here. Going ahead and put my tip on. Another piece of advice to our new mechanics. They come with a pin that goes in it. The pin, you'd want to put the round compression side to the part that you put on. If you end up coming in from the other side and you put this little clip across, sometimes if that clip isn't just right, or if it moves around while you're working, then the clips themselves that you installed, they tend to rock off of what you're actually working with. So you'd want to put the button head and the compression spring on the side of your clamps you put on. So I can get them off now. So put it in from this side. Now no matter what you work on, you're always going to have an equal pressure on these clips, and they tend to stay on a lot better. I can still force them off, yes, but they seem to retain themselves in a much better position this way. So I've got a split ring right on the top here that I need to go ahead and extract. Put my 2 pins in it, open it just enough to get the ring off without spreading it excessively. Pull my washer off, extract the centering roller. But you can see it's all dry. You could use some lube. It takes a lot to get down to these to re-lube them, so you might as well do it now while you got it out before you put it in. Clean it up, clean the shaft off here. Clean all these washers. Alright, There is a difference in your washers. One's got a wider hole. It could be because it just worn as it's been riding, but no matter what, I'm still going to put the one with the wider hole back down on the base first. I got some of my blue Polyrex EM grease. I'm just going to put some of it on the shaft here. Not too much. I don't want it slinging on the transport band. Now I'm going to go ahead and pause this because I don't want to put my hands in petroleum products. I'm going to go get some rubber gloves. All right, so we're back with with gloves. Go ahead and spread this out a little bit. You don't really need a lot of grease because the roller is only going to make contact with the shaft in this within this first half-inch section here. I believe it was about how deep, maybe about 3/4. And same thing on here. That bushing cap, inside is only about 3/4 is going to hit the shaft. The rest of this is just hollow up in here. I wouldn't recommend just filling this thing with grease and putting it in there with the spinning and the extra heat. It could eventually just start leaking grease out all over your T-band, and you don't want that. Slide it straight down. Good. And I'm going to put just a little bit kind of on this washer at the top. Only because if it starts spinning, I don't want any squeaking sounds. Sometimes it'll drag. Alright, we're going to put our clip back on. Rotate it, make sure it's centered in that notch, which it is. So we're good to go. We're going to stand this up, and by now the adhesive we put on earlier should be tacky enough that it holds on these rubber strips. Got my rubber strips, gonna pull them off. I'm gonna make sure when I do this to align my holes so that it doesn't cover them, because it wants to stick fairly well once you put it down, so be careful. I'm gonna press it down. So now whenever I go to put my boards back on, it won't shift on me. And they'll always come back off if you want to take them back off, like if you have to do another repair. There we go, all the rubber strips are back into place. I'm ready to put this piece back on the side and bolt it back in. Alright, I don't like to struggle, so I'm going to go ahead and do my outer bolt here first, so I can put it in there and then it'll pivot right off of it. I'm going to be laying on my side up underneath here, doing the other one, so at least it's going to help me some support this railing. The bolt head. Run the bolt head in from the side. Sorry, I heard a strange noise from another lane. I'm going to pause this video. I got to go look at something. Heard some strange noise. I want to make sure something doesn't get really damaged next to me. Alright, I guess it's okay. I didn't see nothing. I'll just have to pay attention later. Maybe it was just a fluke. But nevertheless. Just going to tighten it some. I can't totally tighten it all the way, drive it home, because I got to get the other bolt in first as well too. If I tighten it like this, it'll actually be tightened in a downward slope. So Now it should still freely, yeah, it still freely moves. Now we're going to go back on the inside and reattach the inner part. Found out what the noise was. It was the lane oiler driving up and beeping beside me. Anyways, I got my bolt. I'm going to put my arm on the inside. Put my bolt through the hole. Probably can't see it here, but it's right over top in this section. I'm going to raise my rail up. Where the bolt came through. Make sure I'm in the right position to tighten. Put my big heads out of the way. There we go. I'm sure I'd have a lot more room on the inside of the ball return if I had a regular ratchet instead of a ratcheting wrench. Just what I had in the toolbox. Didn't want to walk clear over and dig through the center's tools to get it. When I got it right here, do what I can with what I got. Alright, that's all tightened down. Now that the inner side's tight, we need to come back to the back and tighten it up the rest of the way. Switch sides. Since the nut's on this side. Since I got the nut over here, I want to tighten it, torque it down on this side. Alright, that's the easy side done. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch out the difficult side over here on the, what would be the 10-pin side of this lane. Alright, for switching out, what is basically the 10-pin side, we're kind of lucky because we have got the actual nylon lock nuts here on this side. If the bolt head was here, it might cause a little bit more issues. What we're going to actually do is, I'm going to free this up. I'm going to break both of these 17mm bolts free so that the roller can kind of lift at least about 2 more inches in. That way I can push my shoulder in far enough to reach my long arm up in there and try and hold it with my arm on the other side, the far distance side, way up in there. Sorry. That bolt right up in there. That's the one I'm going to have to clamp on with the actual vice grips to hold it. So let's see if we can pull this off. Might give me enough room. Now I have to go ahead and get an Allen wrench to stick in that inside, because that's what the bolt head is. Alright, so I've got my, it's actually an 8mm Allen head, and I've just got a kit that it goes into as a socket. It is 3/8. I use a lot of 1/4-inch drive ratcheting systems, so I've got adapters for it as well. It's my adapter. I'll try and show you up underneath here where this bolt's at. So I got you on the ground. I'm going to lift this T-band up that's got the slack in it. Should be able to see it right there. That's the one that I got to put that Allen wrench head into. The back one's easy, the front one's the difficult one. Alright, so I'm going to stick my 17mm wrench on the inside here, of the 10-pin side of one lane. I'm going in on the other one with my ratchet on the 7-pin side of the opposite lane. Sorry if I'm eating up all the light. There we go. So I got the nut off of it, the nylon lock nut. Now I'm not going to push the bolt out. I just want the bolt to stay there so I can go ahead and pull this side frame off and then just slap it right back on. Now the hard part. So now kind of in the center of the image, pull this rubber strip off. I've got this nut, this nylon lock nut I need to extract. This is where the vice grips come in from earlier that I was trying to use and realized I didn't actually need them still. So you're going to take your vice grips and clamp onto that nut. No matter what now, once it starts untightening, that set of vice grips isn't going to go anywhere. It's going to stay there and it's going to hold that nut for me. And I'm going to go on the inside. Alright, so now you know what's going on the inside with the vice grips. I'm going to show you on this side what I'm doing with the ratchet. How I got to get my arm all the way up there as far as I can to reach it and undo it. You'll just keep ratcheting till you hear the set of vice grips fall off the other side. Then you know the nut is obviously came completely off. Arm's just long enough to reach it. Hope I can get enough turns out of this. Alright, I can barely reach it, so I'm going to do a little extra to give myself some more room. I'm going to go ahead and take the nuts off the other side, the two 17s off the roller, so I can tilt it a little bit of an angle. If I can get that head and the roller to go up inside the lane a little bit, that'll give me like an extra 4 inches. I should be able to get up in there and do this properly. Alright, so I got the other side off, and I got the all threads out. I'm going to see if I can pop it up and get in the lane a little bit further. Just guess my arms have been getting shorter the older I've been getting.
vice grips fall off. So I knew it actually came out of there. So it's all freed on this side. I can take this inside frame off. Go ahead and extract that out. Here's the nut left in the vice grip. Watch as you pull it off. Don't drag it across your threads. Don't mess your threads up of what you need to work with. This frame is solid and good, but it's a good time for me to take it out. It's always best to grind one that's not messed up. Go ahead and grind it and reinforce it. Alright, so I've already got the lubricant back on the centering roller, the Polyrex EM non-lithium grease. I've already readhesive both my rubber strips on this piece. I'm not going to walk you through that again. I'm going to put it back on this side. I'm going to start with the rear bolt again. Even though I've got both of them sticking out, maybe I'll try and get them both on, but I usually put on the rear one first. Helps me pivot and bring up the front one so I don't strain my muscles in my back shoulders trying to get it up on that second one. Go ahead and just finger tighten on this lock nut to get it, just to hold it in place, secure it. It's fighting me. I just got it tightened down some. Now I'm going to go ahead and go on the inside and start the other nut and get my vice grips back on it. So I got it on there as far as I can with finger tension. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my vice grips on it so it'll hold it for me while I'm on the other side ratcheting that bolt up. And just before I get everything, start putting back together all these pieces, just so you can see everything, how much it's got to come apart and all the space it's got to take up just to do this repair, get all these pieces out. So this is one of the larger repairs, aside from doing like switching out an entire table, because maybe one of your bolts broke off on the side of your setting table. Another thing I want to mention is, yes, I would have liked to actually do the lane beside me. Go ahead and do both of its frames since I've got it mainly apart now. The only issue was I don't have 4 actual extra pairs of the side welded frames. At my other center I've got 4 up there pre-welded and ready to do this switch. But down here I just had a set of 2. We had the fix to do, so I just went ahead and knocked it out. I'll just have to suffer again when it comes time to do the next one and go ahead and take it, or I'll do a little bit more preparation and bring these spare side frames back with me. Alright, this may not work the way I planned, but I'm going to see if you guys want to be down here in the trenches with me doing this actual repair. So you'll see what I got to deal with going up underneath here. It's going to be dark for a second because you're going to look at the T-band until I lift it up and get into the work area. Not the best lighting, but see what we can do with what we got. It's actually tightening the bolt clear through the other side of that lock nut. You should be able to feel the tension when it gets tight. Alright, that's it. Pull it out. Get my bit. Hopefully you saw something with all that. Alright, so now we got to just put everything back together. We're going to do it in reverse. I'm going to start with the T-band. Just one note, the T-band does have a special direction that it goes. It's got a forward direction or a constant flow it's supposed to go, basically so it won't shred apart the seam that they've created in it. The way I took it out and I laid it exactly as it was in the machine. So I'm going to fold it up and I'm going to put it back in exactly as I brought it out of the machine. Alright, so I'm going to get back in here. I'm coming through the back of this impact strip. I brought the rubber curtain up because usually when I go under it's going to push it to the other side and it'll actually block your view of what I'm doing. I've got a... pause. So I've got a centering roller right down there in the light. I've got to get the belt back on that one, and then I've got one over here on the opposite side as well. Right there, and that's what we're working on now. You're going to see I'm going to grab the belt, I'm going to kind of pull it up to a point, and so I'm making like a teepee to put it over each roller, and then I'll lay it back flat. I'm on my first roller already. I'm going to pull up in the middle right here and tip it down and get it on this second one. There, I'm on the rollers. I just hope to goodness you could see at least a little bit of how I put it on there. Alright, so now it's time to put back in the transport band boards. I'm going to go ahead and lift up that belt a little bit as I put them in. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and set down that other roller from the other side where I was working on it. I'm going to get it back aligned so it'll be down and flat and give me more room to get my boards in. Alright, now that that's flat, I'm going to go ahead and get my front board. It's a universal board, it can go any way. It's the rear board that you always have to worry about, that is it's for a specific lane, odd or even. Something else I do every time, just so I can keep track of, like the last time I did work on this lane or anybody assisted me. And I guess I'll go ahead and include you guys as well. Alright, so I've got raised up so I can drop the nose of this board in. It's going to dive down. Once I get it across, then I'll lift it up and we'll roll it over. I actually reached my hand in on the opposite lane, grab as far as I could on the board, grasping it, and that's where I could lift it up and get it to do a nose dive to get actually up underneath the belt. And I'm going to work my way across the other side, tip it up, and bring it over. And then we'll roll it back on its edge. Same thing as we did when we took it out. I'm going to have to work each side of the board back, both sides equally, so I can get it back as far as I need it.